inovatif.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi teman-teman semua. Saya Rina Widya Putri dari kategori TK Inovatif dari Bali sebagai guru TK.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Daimatu Munajah dari kategori Pembelajaran dari Kota Tegal, Jawa Tengah. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi semuanya, sahabat PAUD Mas. Saya Lia Irma Juwita, kategori guru TK inovatif dari Sumatera Barat. Terima kasih. Selamat.
Luar biasa ya, hebat-hebat ya. Good morning everyone. I'm proud principal of TK Paramparta Pangkal Pinang, Provinsi Kepulauan Bangka Belitung. Hari ini saya diamanatkan untuk menjadi moderator kawan-kawan di kegiatan workshop STEM ya. Sudah siap semuanya? Oke, kita tes suara dulu ya. Nanti saya akan ada sedikit gimmick di atas, jadi kita sudah satu suara. Oke. Siap.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Selamat
wabarakatuh.
pagi semuanya.
Pagi.
Perkenalkan, nama saya Ibu Siti Nur Komaria, kategori GTK Inovatif TK, perwakilan dari Kota Sorong, Provinsi Papua Barat Daya.
Yeah.
Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Nama saya Hestiani Diai dari Gorontalo. Saya kategori penilik inovatif. Terima kasih.
Oke, itu mungkin karena kita mau run through gladi bersih. Acara waktu kita terbatas. Nanti link Zoom-nya Bapak Ibu bisa menggunakan HP kalau mau masuk ke itunya dan bisa diviralkan karena slot Zoom-nya cuma 500. Silakan Bapak Ibu duduk kembali, nanti Bapak Ibu lah yang jadi interpreter dan pendamping ya. Silakan tim acara.
Ini Mas. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Nanti saya waktu di sesi ini nanti minta tolong jawab dengan keras ya, biar semangat ya. Baik, segera akan kita mulai sesi dengan Cillian. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, selamat sejahtera bagi kita semua. I'm so happy to see so many talented early childhood educators gather here. I'm Yorsi, Principal of TK Paramarta Pakal Pinang, as your moderator in these sessions. It brings me great joy to welcome you to explore the fun side of STEM that stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. Today, we have the privilege of learning from the expertise of Gillian Kidman. She is Associate Professor of Science Education and Research, lead in School of Curriculum, Teachings, and Inclusive Education from Monash University. Anyone want to go to Monash University here? Okay, make a line. Nice, right? I will go first. Okay. Our presenter, Gillian, expertise integrates STEM education and humanities resulting STEAM education, interdisciplinary teaching and learning, transdisciplinary pedagogies and learning, curriculum design in STEM education, Australian curriculum science. Her current work and research in Indonesia in cooperation with the Ministry of Education, Minister of Education Organizations, Regional Center for Education and Mathematics Malaysia, about STEM planning and design learning framework towards 21st century skills and design thinking. Actually, you still have 10 pages of CV, Gillian. I need to solve it right now. Okay. A lot of expertise of Gillian. And Gillian is here to show us cool way.
And then inexpensive way as well. So I'm going to start by Excellent.
Yes.
Thank you. So as you know, I'm from Monash University in Melbourne, Australia. A long way away. Takes about maybe eight hours to fly to Jakarta from Melbourne. And it's about 16 degrees here today, so it's a lot cooler than what it is for you.
Yes,
But
it's
let's
pretty
get
cold.
started. Yeah. But it's an honour for me to be here. My slide is not going forward. Okay. Technology. All right, so we know we're talking about STEM. And as our moderator kindly pointed out just before, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, Indonesia is probably very similar to Australia in the curriculum, and we don't really offer engineering. We have science, we have the technologies, and we have mathematics, but engineering is why we have difficulty with STEM. But here are some other reasons that we have difficulty with teaching STEM. STEM looks like technology. STEM can also look like STEAM, where the A could stand for many different things. Here I've got A is for arts. So it's creative thinking, it's being flexible, looking for different ways of doing things, and not getting upset, but being resilient if it fails. And then we try and we try again. So for me, if I was defining STEM, I go beyond saying, oh, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. For me, STEM is the problem solving that integrates the science, the technology, and the mathematics. If you like, you look at the word STEM, S-T-E-M. What we teach is in that space between each of the letters. So we're teaching STEM is between S and T. It's between the T and the E, and between the E and the M. We're not teaching the individual disciplines. We're using problem solving to explore the space between two or more disciplines. So I like to put up this little reminder when I'm trying to define STEM that it is not robotics. You do not need a lot of money to do STEM, and it's not about just programming robots. It's certainly not doing a science experiment. That is not STEM, that is science. And it's not doing mathematics problems, because that's mathematics. Remember, it's that space between the subjects, between the disciplines. It's not the disciplines themselves. And to explore that space, we have to be using problem solving. And this is really important because when we look at who or what a child is, we see that there's this little tiny person and they love to look, they love to play, they love to explore. And when they can talk, they certainly like to ask questions. They like to build block cities and towers and all sorts of crazy sculptures and shapes. And then they like to knock them over and rebuild it. That's the kind of thinking that we're trying to foster in STEM. Notice I didn't say that's STEM. It's the type of thinking, it's that problem solving. And so we need to give our children lots and lots of paper and art tools, let them explore colours and textures, let them make patterns. Looking at patterns, being able to repeat a pattern is an excellent mental activity that a 3-year-old can explore so that when they're 13, they do very well at algebra because algebra is about pattern. So what we do with these young children, and if we do it properly and do problem solving, that will certainly influence all of their education from when they're in the elementary school through to secondary school, middle school, onto university. So what we have is a really important job that you people do for the early years children. And we know that little kids, small children love to get messy. They love to mix things and to put all the paint colours together and make a brown. Yeah. But children love that. They need to see that they're in control of their learning and of their doing. And so from those 5 points, you can see that there is science in there. There's chemistry in the last one. There's mathematics in the second last, creating patterns. There's engineering in the middle one, in the paper and the tools. There's physics in the cities and the towers. And exploring nature is very much about the science and the biology and making observations. So STEM can really complement the other subjects that make it up, but it's more than the subjects because it's that way of thinking, that problem solving. So now that I have defined what STEM is, I've got a quiz for you. I just want you to have a think. Have a think about each of these 3 questions, and let's have a little exploration. So the first one is building a block tower, like we have there on the floor mat. Is that STEM? Now, I can't see you, so I don't know how to find out what you're thinking. Is it STEM yes, or is it STEM no? I'll give you a moment to tell the person next to you. Tell them, I think it is STEM, or I don't think it's STEM. So just tell that to the next person. Okay, there's some time to say yes or no to each other. And I do apologise for the noise in the background here. I'm not sure what's going on. Building a block tower, to me, that is not STEM. It might look like STEM. It might look like it's an engineering activity. But if we have a look on that map, on the mat there and on the photo, we've got the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we've asked the child to stack or make a tower of the appropriate number of blocks. So if we look at number 4, we can see that there is 4 blocks standing on it. So that's sort of mathematics. It's sort of literacy because they have realised, oh, I have to put 4 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not STEM. There might be a pattern in it, green, blank, colour, but it's still not STEM because there's no problem to solve. We've just asked the child to do an activity. So we need to change the nature of this activity into a problem before it's going to be classified as STEM. Okay, here's another one. Playing with bubbles using a blowpipe or a wand. So is this child doing STEM? Is she having a STEM education? Tell the person next door to you. A yes or a no. Okay, to me, she's not doing STEM. She's merely blowing bubbles. She might be looking at the bubble and thinking, oh, I wonder why that works. If she's very clever, she might know, or someone might have told her, that it's the surface tension of the water and the detergent. A little bit of chemistry, a little bit of physics, but it's not STEM. There is no problem. All she does is just blow into the pipe and we have bubbles forming. Now let's change that basic activity to what the little boy is doing. He's also blowing into a straw instead of a pipe. He's blowing many bubbles though. And I think it's a homemade bubble pipe. It's made out of a cup and a straw. It's possible that he is doing STEM, especially if he designed that or was part of a team of children that designed that bubble pipe. Because STEM involves design, it involves that creativity, that thinking. So he's doing more STEM than what the girl is. The girl is simply blowing bubbles. Let's look at our final one. Using a magnifying glass. Is this girl doing STEM?
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone want to answer the questions? Number 3. Is that activity STEM or not? Teacher said STEM, Jillian. It is STEM.
I don't think it is STEM. Because all she's doing, she's looking.
Yes.
She's looking at things.
Yes.
So maybe she's doing biology.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's change it slightly to make it more STEM. And now she's being a detective. Now she's looking at the fingerprint. Maybe the problem is, who stole the teddy bear? Where are all the toys gone? Maybe we can look at the fingerprints, we can make some comparison, we can try and solve the problem of the missing teddy bear toys. So if we just look at those 3 questions again, building a block tower is not STEM unless it is solving a problem. Playing with bubbles using a blowpipe or a wand is not STEM unless it's part of solving a problem. And so using a magnifying glass, it's a tool, it's biological, it's certainly scientific, but again, it has to be able to solve a problem. So to me, STEM is that space between the 4 alphabet letters, between the 4 subjects. It has to have problem solving. And hopefully there is the opportunity for the child to design and then construct. So that's where the boy with the pipe was close to STEM, because he had a homemade pipe. There was some design involved and then some construction. Now, maybe he was part of a team working with an older child or an adult who helped him make that. If that's the case and he's solving a problem, then it becomes STEM. So when we try and do STEM in the classroom, we look at the design thinking process. Very, very important is the planning stage. Also important is the create stage. But you cannot do those 2 without the other 3. And it just goes round and round and round as the child learns more and more skills, knowledge, and attitudes. So if we start at the top there, we've got ask. What is the problem? Now, if you've got very young children, and as the teacher, you might have to ask that problem question so that the child realises, oh, we have a problem, we have to try and solve it. And then you move on to the next step, which is imagine. What are some solutions to the problem? What could we do? Now, that's a very important step in design thinking, because you need 3, maybe 4 children working together. One child might say, we could use a hammer. Another child might say, no, that will break something. We should use a ball. So they've got all these different solutions. They're using their imaginations. They're being creative with their thinking on how they can actually solve the problem. When they've got some ideas, when they've been doing their brainstorming, we then get them on to pick one and plan how you're going to do that. And this is the planning. And when I'm teaching, even a 4-year-old child or a 14-year-old child or a 24-year-old pre-service teacher, I ask them to draw a diagram, make a list, write it down, because that allows me, the teacher, to do the assessment, because I can see what the group of children or an individual child is trying to imagine. And I like to look at a picture or something, a list of words, whatever the child has planned, because that gives me, it's like a window into their imagination. And if they don't draw it for me, then I don't let them go on to the next stage. Because the next stage of create is where you have to follow what you've drawn or what you've written. It's like a plan. So it's like a technical diagram that an architect will create when the architect is drawing the instructions for a building. You can't build the house or build a skyscraper or build a shed without a plan. So the real world really does go through that. Imagine, plan, create, those 3 steps in a row. Once you've created it, then you see, well, that's not very good there. I now have to improve it. And every child is capable of going through those 5 steps. The smaller the child, the more assistance you've got to give them. So you can ask the question. That's going to guide the STEM investigation. You can then give them some guiding questions, if you like, or some hints to spark their imagination. You then get them to draw it. Then the fun part, the create, and then you try and improve on it. So that's the basic design process. And later on, we're going to have a little look at those stages in terms of an activity that hopefully you're all quite familiar with, but we'll make it into STEM. So here's an example. The 3 little pigs. I'm going to show a short video. Tigger, Barbie, and I forget how to, Ketchel, maybe? I think that's how we pronounce it. Hopefully this works and that you can hear it.
Little Angel Bahasa Indonesia. Pada suatu masa, ada 3 ekor pigi kecil dan mereka masing-masing ingin membangun rumah. 3 babi, 3 babi, 3 babi ingin keluar. 3 babi, 3 babi, 3 babi ingin bermain. Rumahku kuat seperti pohon dari jerami. Tunggu dan lihat, tidak datang serigala jahat.
Ku gertak, ku tiup, rumah sampai roboh.
3 babi, 3 babi, 3 babi lari-lari. Semuanya kita harus bangun rumah yang kuat. 3 babi, 3 babi, 3 babi senang main. 3 babi, 3 babi, 3 babi main seharian. Rumahku terbuat dari kayu, rumah terbaik di sekitar sini. Oh tidak, datang serigala jahat.
Ku gertak, ku tiup, rumah sampai roboh.
3 babi, 3 babi, 3 babi lari-lari. Kuat, kuat, kuat. Ya, tiga babi bersuara oing, 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 oing. Rumahku terbaik dari yang lain, dari bata tidak akan rubuh. Oh tidak, datang serigala besar jahat.
Ku gertak, ku tiup, dan hei. Hei, yang ini tidak mau rubuh.
Tiga babi, serigala jahat larilah. Yeay, kita udah berhasil. Oing, oing, oing. Yeay. Tiga babi berjemur. Tiga babi senang-senang. Ku bangun rumah yang paling kuat, rumah bata kokoh, ku tak takut serigala. Tiga babi senang-senang. Oing, oing, oing.
Hey, I'm glad that had a happy ending with the three little pigs and the daddy wolf all becoming friends. So you've had a familiar story time opportunity with your children. Select a book that does actually have a problem in it. And so the problem that I'm posing to you this afternoon is what kind of house would the wolf and Tiga Babi like to share? They're friends now, and they're going to live together. So what type of house could we build? So as the teacher, you pose that question, pose that problem to the students and ask them to imagine the type of house they would like to build. I wonder what type of house you're thinking. When I first was thinking about this, I was thinking it had upstairs windows, downstairs windows. It had a couple of doors. And then I thought, too boring. I wanted creativity. So I thought maybe we're going to have to get the children some help as well to be creative. So what I've got for you now is a video that goes a little bit longer, but I'd like you to watch it because it's really interesting in terms of architecture and the houses that you could discuss with the students. Now, to use this particular video, I would suggest you turn the sound off because it's in English. But you know what your children have as an understanding. If you've watched this short video, it goes for maybe 9 minutes, a few times, you will know what to say about each of these houses. And there are some very fantastic houses. So we'll have a look at that type of video that we could give as a helping hand to help the students imagine. After we've done that, we can have a discussion and then the students start to plan their house. Do that important diagram. Then they can build their house. And then they can improve it. So let's just have a look at some of the really interesting architecture to solve this problem of what kind of house for the three little pigs and the wolf to share. Get this video happening.
21 homes you won't believe exist.
They are so fantastic.
21 for the love of shoes. Built in 1948 by Machlon Haynes, the shoe house was a great display of the owner's flamboyant personality. He used it as an extra way to advertise his shoe shops. He had over 50. He never stayed in the shoe, but was very generous by having 38 elderly couples stay in the shoe each year, being waited on and served, and all of them leaving with brand new shoes. 20. Bring out the bubbly. This jaw-dropping home is the Bubble House, designed by renowned architect Antti Lovag and was owned by Pierre Cardin. Many legendary and mind-blowing parties were hosted at this funky home. The house is just outside of Cannes, built in the 80s, and is almost 13,000 feet. The house has 28 round rooms, and even the beds are round. I really wish I was a fly on the wall during some of these parties. 19. Home is where the art is. You would be the most popular kid in school if you lived in this house. Designed by Mexican architect Javier Senosian, it's the home of a family with 2 young children. Called the Nautilus House, the shell-shaped house is described as bioarchitecture, which is an idea that buildings resemble organic forms, helping us to create harmony and balance with nature. 18. May you always have shells in your pockets and sand in your shoes. This remarkable home is the Conch Shell House in Mexico and is classed as the most beautiful home on Isla Mujeres. Designed by one of Mexico's most well-known artists, Octavio Ocampo, this home offers the residents a 180-degree view of the Caribbean Ocean. The entire home is themed around shells, with some parts being made from coral and upcycled shells. 17. More than meets the eye. What may look like someone's idea of a fun project, the Upside Down House in Simbach, Poland, has a very symbolic meaning. It symbolizes the fall of communism in Poland and how everything turned upside down. It took 114 days to build, and the workers had to take constant breaks as it was quite nauseating to be inside. Visitors are reported as getting seasick after being inside the Upside Down House. 16. Off the grid. Imagine your hubby came home one day and said, "Babe, I think I want to dig a massive hole into a hillside so we could all live happily ever after. I think you might just run for the hillside." Not this family. In fact, while Simon Dale was digging and constructing, his wife and 2 toddler children camped in the countryside nearby. Simon did everything himself with no experience at all, and it cost just £3,000. It took 4 months to complete the project, and the family are well settled and very happy. I would be a bit concerned about my home becoming a bit of a tourist destination. 15. Yabba Dabba Doo. Built in 1974, the House of Stone is based in Portugal. According to reports, the house has no electricity and the homeowners use candlelight. The house has a massive fireplace. I'm pretty sure they need that in wintertime. A swimming pool carved into the stone and logs as their staircase. Wouldn't it be amazing to be able to spend just a night in this house? 14. The Emperor's New Clothes. You could say this house was totally naked. Japanese architect So Fujimoto designed this 914 square foot apartment. The apartment is associated with living in a tree. Like a tree has many different branches creating different levels, so does the transparent house, also known as House NA. There are 21 floor plates, all at different heights, creating a most unusual yet interesting floor plan. No word on how they bath, dress, make love in this transparent house though. 13. Only skinny people allowed, because this apartment is only 48 inches wide. It's the world's narrowest house based in Warsaw, Poland. It's called the Carrot House and was designed by an architect in Poland. The tiny structure will serve as a base for traveling writers, and the first writer to stay there was Edgar Carrot from Israel. Wouldn't it be amazing if this property was listed on Airbnb? 12. Backside, frontside, grind and kickflip, all in the comfort of your own home. Skateboarder's Paradise. A skateboard house is the vision of Pierre-Andre Senizaguirres, a pro skater and former world champ. It was said to be built in Malibu, and one could skate on any surface or in any area of the house, inside or outside. I'm sure there will be plenty of sketchy tricks being done here, and loads of bailing. 11. At a snail's pace. We head to Bulgaria, where we visit the Snail House. Built in 2008, it's been built with environmentally friendly materials, and not one single brick has been used in the process. It has no straight walls, no edges, and no corners, and no occupants. It's become a bit of a tourist attraction in Bulgaria. 10. Up, up and away. She must have a passion for flying because this lady bought a plane for around $2,000. She then spent a further $24,000 renovating it and is now the proud owner of a Boeing 727 house. The cockpit has a jacuzzi. You use a garage remote to open the stairs. Sounds odd, I know. And there is a bathroom on the plane in perfect working condition. I wonder if we went to visit, we would get served some cocktail peanuts and sparkling water. 9. Life's a journey. Enjoy the ride. This is the Wachlerater Auto Residence, designed by Marcus Wachlerater. And he built this house for his wife and children. He says it wasn't the easiest job to complete, but in the end, he got it right. Life is too short to buy boring cars and live in boring houses. 8. Life is a song. Just when you thought you couldn't be surprised again, here's the most incredibly beautiful dwelling located in China. It's shaped like a grand piano and a violin and was built in 2007 by architectural students. The violin has an escalator inside which gives you access to the building. It's not occupied at the moment, but I think any musician with truckloads of cash may be purchasing this beautiful property very soon. 7. Be careful you don't get sucked in. Dan Havel and Dean Ruck, artists from Texas, must have had a grand time smashing in these homes. They then took the wood and placed the wood at very odd angles to create this tunnel-like vortex effect. These were just temporary structures, as it would be impossible for anyone to actually live like that. But it is incredible what the imagination can conjure up. 6. E.T. is home. It's not a spaceship, but rather a bioclimatic solo house found in France. It's three-dimensional, so keeps cooler during the summer and warmer during the winter. It reminds me of a giant spinning top. All that is needed is a giant piece of rope. 5. No place like home. This is the Mushroom House, and it was designed by Terry Brown. You have to give him credit for his imagination. It's found in Ohio, and he wanted the building to look like it was part of nature, so he used many bits and bobs from their natural environment. Building began in 1992 and took around 14 to 15 years to complete with the help of his students. It looks more like a haunted house from a fair. All you need is a ticket, a soda, and candy floss, and you're all set. 4. Something out of a fairy tale. I see this house in a movie like Tinkerbell or something of a similar vein. It's called the Crazy House, and it's actually a guest house based in Vietnam. The initial perception is of course a tree, but on closer inspection you will find animals, spider webs, mushrooms, and even caves. Visitors have often drawn similarities to Walt Disney and Salvador Dali. It's listed on many travel websites and travel guidebooks as one of the most bizarre buildings in the world. Definitely something to add to your bucket list. 3. Looks can be deceiving. This home looks pretty boring from the outside, but wait till you get inside. It's any child's dream come true, and grown-ups too. It's a 3-story home designed by Japanese studio-level architects. A slide connects all 3 levels. It also features a room where air is pulled through the floor, allowing the kids to play with these multicolored floating balls. 2. No need to worry about the neighbors. Built in 1968, a group of men came together and between them decided the ideal spot to build a home would be on a rock, on a river. Yes, they did. No, I have no idea if they were under the influence, but whatever it was, this is probably the most isolated house ever. He definitely won't be asked to borrow a cup of sugar. 1. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Not SpongeBob this time, as this pineapple is on dry land. Pineapples were such exotic fruits during the 18th century that this very wealthy homeowner had to show off his wealth by creating a pineapple on his house. Doesn't he know no one likes a show-off? Which of these houses would you most like to spend a night in?
I love those houses. My favorite one would be the white one that was very boring on the outside, but it had a slide on the inside. I think that would be a lot of fun for the 3 little pigs. But if our pigs were interested in music, maybe they could have an instrument like a trumpet or a clarinet, something that they could slide down the inner tube. It's up to the imagination of the child. And I think the children, if they saw that video, would be able to get an idea you don't have to have straight 4 walls. So they're designing their house. As a STEM activity, you can give them another challenge. Now the wolf says, the house must have a door that is a drawbridge. So like on a castle. And you can see on the picture on the side that there is a chain, and inside the castle or inside the house, there would be some mechanism that would wind up the chain and it would pull the drawer up so no one could come in or out. So that's what the wolf wants. So in the design of the house, your children would have to also make a paper chain. And this has got a lot of creativity, it's got measurement skills, all sorts of things, but you could make it like a competition. Who can make the longest paper chain using one sheet of paper, one pair of scissors, and some tape? Now you have a think, how would you do it? What would you do to make it longer than mine? It's an interesting problem, but this is the planning. This is the diagram that you want children to make some notes or something to see, well, if I cut it this wide, or if I make my strips this long, will that make it longer or a short chain? So you can see their problem solving. The initial problem was, let's make a house for the 3 little pigs and the wolf to enjoy together. And now we know there has to be a drawbridge. Oh, we have to have the longest chain. So you're constantly challenging your children with these small design tasks. It's not too hard to make a paper chain. Maybe a 3 or a 4-year-old can do it, especially if you've given them the pre-cut paper. They may not be very good with the scissors, but they can certainly do the rest. So it's about challenging their imagination. If we look at what can we learn from a paper chain, I've listed out there 7 points that are very mathematical. We'd be teaching this in mathematics anyway, so why not put it into STEM? So the first point, use a measuring tape to measure and record each paper chain. So part of the challenge is using the tape measure, aligning the end of the tape measure with the end of the chain, being able to read off the number on the scale, and to write it down. Now, some children, it's too hard for them to write it down. You might have number cards, and they have to select the appropriate number card. A smaller child might be given the task of counting how many links are in the chain. If we've come up with 8.5 links, we might look at the concept of rounding. 8.5 goes up to 9. Maybe we can make a graph. We can look at mathematical symbols. Less than, greater than, equal to. We could subtract the shortest from the longest. We could do some addition and add them all together. There's all sorts of things that we could do. But remember, we're doing STEM. We need a problem. We need to problem solve. And so everything we do, we want to make the students to think. And so an extension here, and point number 8 on the challenge is, well, how many sheets of paper would it take to make a chain as long as the room using the same type of chain that you made? And so you're asking them to estimate. They can see that their paper chain is this long. Goodness, how many of these end on end do I need to go the full length of the room? Have a look at your room, the one that you're sitting in now. Now, if you're in the hotel with the round tables, think about the language I've asked, the length of your room. Length is often the longest dimension. So you're in a rectangular room, so it's the long measure that we're looking for. And then you could have a look at the width, the shortest one. And then you could say, oh, do we have a golden rectangle? If we got 2.6, multiply it by the width, do we get the length? And if we do, we have the perfect rectangle. So there's a lot of maths you can do with your paper chain that is related to your three little pigs and the challenge of putting in a drawbridge. So your tasks are basic. Things that you know the students can do. Use sticky tape, use a pair of scissors, count, but it's a much richer experience because they're challenges. You're making them think. So the engineering is the construction of the house or the construction of the chain. And then you've got lots of mathematics as just as an example there as well. How else could we do it? So I've chosen storybooks this morning for you simply because children like stories, and we often do read to the children because they need to learn to read. And it's also because I'm here in Melbourne and it's very hard to do interactive activities, you know, on the Zoom meeting. But I've selected two books here just as a little bit of a, to show a difference. So if you look at the big one, and I've got my copy here, Cao Zhong Weighs an Elephant. So the storyline, if you're not familiar with it, is the emperor gives one of his favourite government workers the opportunity to, something's happened to my screen, gives them the opportunity to live with an elephant. But the little boy says, oh, how much does an elephant weigh? And so the story is about the adults trying to determine what the weight of the elephant is. But it's the boy and his creative means that is the winner of the competition, if it was, because he was able to think, he took time. And he came up with a method of weighing the elephant. So he was the hero. In the other book, and I'm not sure what's happened to the screen, I'm not seeing anything, I hope you're still with me. The other book is a little bit in reverse because the storyline is the kite is caught in the tree. And when it's caught in the tree, the boy has to try and get it down. And the story has him sharing his ideas of how he can get his kite down. I like that book because the problem could be your students, our children in our classrooms, are finding out the problems with each of the boys' suggestions. So they're trying to do that improvement. So the boy in the book is giving a solution and the children in your class are trying to improve on his solution. And you could have the students making kites, trying to fly kites, looking at all sorts of geometry and different shapes. And the problem there could simply be, how do we get the kite out of the tree? You don't have to have a kite and put it in a tree. You could have a small plant and a pretend toy kite. And if the children just go and pull, maybe the string breaks off, maybe the kite gets damaged. So they're all the problems that the students will want to be, trying to avoid. So I'm well aware of the time, and it is a Friday. I'll stop there, and just as a summary, I think, I hope, I have defined STEM for you and showed you just a few ideas of how you can do like STEM and literacy combined without having to have an enormous budget to buy robots. If we'd had more time, we could have done a little bit of coding. That's often an easy activity where you get the students, one student working with another student and giving very, very clear, explicit instructions. To give you an idea, I hope you can see me, I have a juice bottle. I could give this to my partner student and say, have a drink. So I hand it over. The partner will go to have a drink, but there's a problem. My instructions weren't explicit. When you're doing coding, you have to be very, very clear. So coding to have a drink would be, with your spare hand, hold the cap. Turn the cap anti-clockwise. Turn the cap clockwise. Oh, it opens. Keep turning the cap clockwise. And I keep trying to turn until I'm told to stop. So the child then says, put the cap down. Very clear. Raise the bottle to your mouth. Tip the bottle. Have a drink. Move the bottle away from your mouth. So when you're doing coding, when they're coding a game or on a computer, wherever coding is used, it is the very, very finest of detail. And that's a lot of fun to explore. Maybe we could do that on another webinar another day. I'm happy to make up a coding webinar for you if that's what's of interest. So I've lost my slides. Not sure what's happened there. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But I do realise we are challenged with time because we started a little bit late. So terima kasih and questions, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Big applause to Jillian. It was absolutely interesting presentations. Jika Ibu Bapak di sini mempunyai pertanyaan, wow, we have a lot of participants that raise hands to ask the questions. Jillian from here. Okay, yes, first, silahkan perkenalkan dulu namanya ya.
Hello Jillian, my name is
Hello.
Nia. Nice to meet you. My name is Nia. I'm from Yogyakarta and I am non-formal educators or non-formal teachers. What I want to ask is about, wait a minute. Okay, your presentation is very interesting. And we know that Indonesia curriculum is now focusing on character building also. And I want to ask, is it possible to contribute to the holistic character development of young children, fostering traits like tolerance and teamwork, using the integrating STEM activities? That's all my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, it is definitely possible to develop those character building skills and ideas in the students, because often problem solving is best done as a team. And as I said in the beginning, it's to be celebrated where you're doing something and you fail. By failing, the child then gets the resilience, and that makes them strong in character. So definitely try and get the students working in teams. Don't let them get disappointed when they fail, because failing is a learning opportunity, and that is character building. So wonderful question, and I'm going to Yogyakarta in January.
Oh, wow.
But yay.
Okay, we cannot wait to January after this session, yeah? Thank you. Is that clear for you? Tolerance and teamwork is part of STEAM, yeah? Okay, next question, because we still have 5 minutes left, Jillian, unfortunately.
That's
One
okay.
more. Wow, okay. I'm going there.
Hello, my name is
Hello.
Anna. I am from Papua. I have question about STEM. How to make a problem with STEM and motivation student to give a STEM, give initiative to STEM, to problem, initiative to make a problem, because the curriculum national, curriculum Merdeka, initiative and motivation from children to ask question.
Yes.
Yeah, from center on the children, and the STEM with kid, in the young kid, very difficult to raise of the problem. Nah, create the problem, yeah, like this.
Yes.
Sorry, my English is little bit. Create to the problem. Semangat ya.
Yes,
Thank you.
I understand your question. How do we motivate the child?
Yeah, create the problem, and this when our teacher, we cannot give the children, but motivation, yeah. We need motivation the children to this one problem and integrate with team, ya, integrate with team
yes.
Pembelajaran. We need activities from children and integrate with team, like this one. Okay, how to make that? Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent question.
I think it's an excellent question and beautifully asked. Even though you don't think you have good English, you have very good English. I think if we were to start with every small child, a 2 or a 3-year-old, when we're teaching them to work in teams, at the same time, we teach them to ask the questions. We teach them to celebrate when they fail. So a 3-year-old, when they become 4 or 5 or 6 or 17, that's all they know. Well, they know content, they know knowledge, but they know that it is okay to ask the questions. They know it's okay to be creative and to explore. So it's much easier to do it for a young child because that's the way they learn. But if you start doing it with a 7-year-old, the 7-year-old has to learn how to learn that way. So my number one recommendation is start with the very small child first. And then you will get a whole generation of children growing up knowing and loving and respecting failure, and motivation is there, it's all happening. That will be the easy one. The harder one is where the students have to learn this way as you learn how to teach this way. And I think the way that I started to do this 25 years ago was I would tell the students, I'm learning a new thing, how to teach this. I want you to learn new as well. I want you to show me what you're interested in. I want you to show me your excitement. And if the students think, we learn together, this is interesting, then it's okay for you to say, you're not exciting me enough. I want more excitement. I want more motivation. Or you can say, where is your motivation today? Did you leave it in your house? Because the students know that you're learning together. And so that honesty, as you as teachers learn to teach this way, the students will appreciate that as well. So I think having that conversation with them. But if the Indonesian students are like Australian students, many of them don't have school motivation because they don't want to keep learning more and more of somebody else's knowledge. They don't like the textbook. And so with STEM, let's throw away the textbook. We might have a storybook, but let's challenge them to develop that resilience, develop your character, develop all those sorts of wonderful 21st century skills as a sideways step away from all of that horrible straight knowledge coming out of a textbook and exams. That's my philosophy, and I think that your ministry and Pak Nadine is an absolutely brilliant man, or whoever came up with the idea of the P5 project. Because I think P5 in Merdeka is the home of STEM, those integrated projects. I know you have a STEM and an entrepreneurial one, but every other one of those can be STEM-based as well, because STEM is problem solving. It's project-based. So that's where it fits into your curriculum. And you learn to teach that way, and the children will learn to learn that way as well. So I hope that helps your wonderful question, and all the children in Papua start doing lots and lots of problem solving, because they will need it in the future.
Thank you, Jillian, for the answer. So we need to have the conversation more to the children, in our classroom.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we finished the time that today, but we will go to Yogyakarta after this in January to meet Jillian again together, Okay, thank you so much, Jillian. Thank you for your active participation in today's STEM session with Jillian. Jillian has provided us with valuable tools and insight. Thank you so much. I encourage you to carry the inspiration from her into your classrooms, fostering love for STEM in the hearts of our young learners back then in our hometowns. Thank you for making today a success. Thank you, Jillian, to inspire us a lot. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Santi Santi Om, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan.
Okay, Gillian. Thank you, Prof. Gillian. Best regards.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Be safe, everybody.
Thank you. Oke, Bapak Ibu, ini karena peserta BIMTEK tadi pagi belum sempat latihan angklung.